Hello and welcome back to Solutions Pod, where we talk to some amazing people who are focusing on solutions for the environment, health, and our communities. I'm your host, Jay Harvey Lewis, and today we are joined by our awesome co-host, Anastasia Vasovic, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Erlijn van Genuchten, who has spent a lot of time working on many of the smaller solutions for sustainable living that add up to massive changes in her 365 Sustainable Decisions Challenge. We got to talk to Erlijn back in August, right after she had completed her year-long challenge, and it looks like after almost 500 days, she's still going. So Erlijn, it's really great to talk to you again.
I love to talk to you again as well. And it's true, things are still going on and growing, and yeah, wonderful things are happening.
Excellent. I've just, every time I see that you're still going on the blog, it's like, when is she going to run out of ideas? But that's really fabulous. So Erlijn, you have a background in psychology as well as technology as a penetration tester.
Yep.
For security. Can you tell us a little bit about how you went about doing the 365 Sustainable Decisions Challenge, and how your background in those areas specifically helped to kind of guide you in this big marathon of sustainable solutions?
Yeah. Yes, so it's true. I did a PhD in psychology, and after my PhD, I worked for several years as a penetration tester. And for those who don't know, a penetration tester is an ethical hacker or a white hat hacker. And that is a hacker who, for example, looks at websites to see whether there are security vulnerabilities or security holes. And instead of course, for example, stealing data or so, we report these issues to our customers so that they can close these holes before the bad guys come along and, for example, steal data. And the methodology that I learned by doing these penetration tests, they really helped me during my challenge, because when I do a penetration test, I look at, for example, a website to find security holes, and then also come up with ideas on what they can do to close these holes. And when I started doing my challenge, I noticed that I can almost do exactly the same thing in my daily life. And instead of finding security holes, I can find what I call sustainability holes. So find something that is not optimal yet from a sustainability point of view, and then come up with ideas on how I can improve this so that it becomes more environmentally friendly. And that's the part that really helped me on coming up with these ideas on what I can do in daily life. And my psychological background really helped me with sharing my experiences, because what I found out is that it's very important to do actions or take actions, but with the right mindset and the right knowledge, etc., it becomes so much easier. And that's why I also started to share these, in general, psychological point of view, to make it easier for others to do the same.
Awesome.
I've been looking through your journey online, and there's so many ideas and tips and solutions, and the way you present them is very original and very interesting. It kind of makes you feel involved. It makes you want to participate. So you've been living this lifestyle for a very long time, and I really wonder whether you have some favorite, sustainable living solutions and tips. Maybe something that really stands out to you.
Yeah. So I indeed have over 440 by now. So there are so many that work really well for me, because I keep up many of them. A few that I really like are, for example, that I built a compost bin a while ago that I put in my little garden. And ever since, I've been composting my food waste or the leftovers instead of putting them in the garbage. And yeah, a nice story there as well is that one day there was a potato growing in there as well, which I actually harvested and ate. So that was amazing. And I'm saving a huge amount of water by doing different things, like having a shorter shower, not putting the tap open completely, by capturing the water that flows down away in the beginning whilst the water is heating up, to rinse the bath afterwards, for example, or even flush the toilet, whatever. And yeah, that's such a habit that I do it every day. And when I keep on doing this every day, I really see the difference, both on a water level, of course, but also on a financial level, which is another good thing, a nice side effect.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that really stuck out to me when we were talking last time is just how much some of these little decisions can add up. Like, I don't know if you could remind me, that'd be great, but like even a Google search that takes like the same amount of energy as like, what is it, like 4 minutes of like having your light turned on or something like that? Or is it 4 hours?
I don't know, I didn't research it. I think it's more like 4 minutes, because I can't imagine it 4 hours, but still, yeah, that's
yeah. So these things, they really do add up, and just like, and I really appreciate how many of them that you have really gone through. I think it's easier for people as they're like looking into like the human impact of like what we're doing to the environment, and oh my gosh, like how many Google searches did I just do? And maybe I did 100 Google searches when I was like looking for like something in sustainability. So it can get overwhelming. And I'm kind of curious, like with your background in psychology, like and just noticing some of your blog posts recently, what are some of the like advice you can give people who are just really feeling like overwhelmed and exhausted, and like, I don't know, just sort of, they want to do this, but it just seems like too hard for them to keep up with?
Yeah. I can completely understand that feeling. And what I know from my psychological background and my experience, that it is important to start with something that is easy to do. Because when it's easy, then you can implement it in your daily life, and soon you don't have to think about it. Because some feel that if they make a start, it means that, for example, they can never drive a car anymore, or they are never allowed to eat meat again. And of course that helps, but there are so many different ways to make a difference, and so many things that are maybe easier to adopt in daily life and to keep on doing it. And yeah, I suggest to, for example, look at my items and just pick for a start 3 things that you think, yes, that's something I can definitely do in my daily life, and just do them at least a week so that they can become a habit. And then when you feel comfortable, you can look for more ideas that you can implement in daily life as well, after the others already became a habit.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I talk to a lot of people about gardening, because gardening is one of the ways that we can be more sustainable. And so many people will say, oh, I just don't have a green thumb. And it's like, well, what plants did you try to grow? And they'll say, oh, well, I tried to grow tomatoes. And it's like, well, why don't you start with a cactus? Here, let me give you a cactus. You can't kill that.
Yeah.
And then after you experience the success and, get comfortable with it, then add the more challenging things.
Yeah. And what I like about your example as well is I have basil at home, and I use it for quite a while, and at some point the plant dies, and I still don't know why, whether it's because of cold or too much water or too little or whatever. So it's not optimal, but that the plant dies. But before that, it lives quite a while. So even though it's not perfect, it's already better than nothing, and it's already making a difference. So I think in addition to taking small steps, it's important to be not to be too harsh with yourself, and not to expect from yourself to be perfect. And even though I've been doing so many things, I openly admit that I'm not perfect either. And I don't plan to ever become perfect, because I would not be able to live normally anymore. But by doing many things, it's already making a huge difference.
It's very important to not punish yourself, because if you're reinforcing yourself with this fear, negativity, then you don't really enjoy doing it. You're doing it because you feel like you have to, or you feel responsible, but it's not the right motivation. So I think it's very important, yeah, as you mentioned, to not put too much pressure on yourself and kind of enjoy the process.
Exactly. And not get exhausted as well, because when you start running and you plan to run a marathon, then you also don't go for a marathon on day one. You first go for a walk, for example, and then a week later you start running for a few hundred meters, and you grow slowly into running a marathon. And that's with sustainable living as well. You don't have to implement everything at once, just start slowly, and it's already making a difference. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they see on the media all these big goals, and they kind of think that they have to start with those straight away. I don't think there is maybe enough emphasis on the smaller steps that you should take before you can kind of, as you said, run the marathon.
Yeah.
I was speaking to people within our community on NatureHub, and a lot of people these days, obviously due to the pandemic, they do mention that money is one of the big factors why they want to start living more sustainably. And it's interesting, you mentioned that a lot as well, that on your blogs and even now in the conversation, you did say that it's a great way to save money. So I was wondering whether throughout your experience, maybe you've excluded certain items and you don't buy them anymore, and you've realized, actually, I never actually need these items. I don't want them anymore. Could you name?
Yeah. So for example, last year, and it was an item as well, and I think I'll do that the same thing this year, is that I didn't buy any new clothes because I have clothes that look really well. I'm now also more experienced that even if they don't look good again, how I can improve it or to make sure that they stay looking good for a lot longer. So that definitely makes a difference. And I've also invested in some products that are longer lasting. For example, I'm wearing these slippers now. And before that, I was wearing slippers that only lasted me one season. And these costed 3 times as much, but they last already several seasons and they look still quite new. So I will be able to continue wearing them for a lot longer. So in the beginning, it was a small investment, but it will save me a lot of money in the long run, just to name a few.
Yeah, that's a really important piece. Yeah, just the fast fashion industry is really taking a toll when we're getting these like awesome new looking clothes, and then they start falling apart after a year, and it's hard to see that difference. You know, until you like get like really high quality clothes and start saying, well, wow, this shirt has now lasted me 5-10 years, and it still looks good. So it can make a huge difference.
And the interesting thing is that, it is, as you said, Sia, now also a little bit on the top of my mind, because 2 weeks ago I published a course especially focusing on how to save money by living more environmentally friendly. And I, in this course, give a lot of examples, but also principles that are very general, so that it makes it easier for you to come up with ideas that work for you in your daily life. And after I finished explaining all these examples, I was curious how much I actually saved only by doing these examples. And I calculated that it was about 7,500 euros, which is about $10,000 a year. And that was only these examples. And I'm doing more, obviously, which is when I calculated about 3 months working for my employer, which means it saves also a lot of time, because I still have the same amount of money and I can invest 3 months of work in other things I love, which is my sustainability work. So it makes a big difference for both the environment and myself in this case.
Wow, 3 months, that's really incredible. Yeah, and as you said, time is really money too. So it's like, yeah, we might not have to be working overtime if we just like start saving a little bit, being nice to ourselves too. I mean, yeah, and it's actually amazing. You don't even have to buy like new clothes. Like a lot of people will, like I've found some really amazing things just at the thrift store. But it's so true. Like I think the average person is spending quite a lot of money every year on clothes, and yeah, just getting something that will last a little longer is such an important thing. So what do you think it's going to take to make these things more mainstream? Because I mean, as you've already talked about, like this ends up saving you time and money. As you grow into this lifestyle, it kind of starts to become a more natural thing. Just like when you start, you don't want to jump into a marathon, but after you've been running for a while, you kind of start to recognize how to breathe and how to get yourself motivated. But what is it going to take for us to make this thing like fully mainstream?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I believe that there is some kind of tipping point, and a different tipping point that we normally talk about in climate change, a tipping point where it becomes normal. And comparison I like is, I don't know whether it was in your country as well, but in the Netherlands and in Germany where I live, it used to be common that people smoked. And it was even cool when you smoked. However, and that was when I was a kid. These days, it's the other way around. It's very uncool when you smoke. So during these years, it developed in certain ways so that it changed. And I think that is also important in the way we live. Now it's maybe still a little bit uncommon. Maybe some people find it uncool or not necessary or whatever. But when more and more people start to adopt such a lifestyle, then it becomes normal to do it this way. And people, when they behave like this, are being a good example automatically, because people look at each other, how others are behaving, right? So that's also the case here. And then people look at how they're doing it, they start doing it themselves as well, be good examples to others as well, etc., etc.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, try and find ways to make sustainability cool, and just like spreading that positive energy. I liked I read about one of your blogs recently, talking about like climbing, up a hill. People climbing up a hill to take a sled, and a lot of it is really just about a mindset of kind of enjoying the experience and kind of embracing that journey. I'm very curious. You mentioned smoking. I'm kind of curious how this ties into health for you, and like how these things of sustainability and health are related.
Yeah, so I'm not a complete expert on the combination of both, but for example, when we decide to buy biological food, then these are often not sprayed with chemicals, for example. So apart from being more environmentally friendly, it also has health benefits. And also, for example, smoking, that's also not very good for the environment and also not very healthy. So by reducing the amount of cigarettes a day, or by stopping to smoke completely, it is both, it's good for both. And yeah, I don't know the details, but in case this is true, when, for example, drinking from a plastic bottle causes to have some microplastics, causes drinking some microplastics, then it might be better for health reasons to drink tap water, depending on where you live, because I'm aware that it's not possible to drink tap water everywhere, for example. And I'm sure there are many other things, like eating a lot of vegetables more than eating meat, for example. Eating vegetables is very healthy, etc. So yeah, I think it also has many benefits.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting how positive changes tie all together. Like, it helps your health, but it also helps you psychologically as well. And it's just all of it is so intertwined and combined. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely really inspired by your background. I mean, it's so rich. You've got so much going on in your past. So I'm wondering, what are the things we should be looking forward to in your next steps? Maybe 2021, 2022. What's next?
Yeah, so currently I'm working on a second course on how to reduce waste, or even go zero waste if you would like to. And also sharing principles that make it easy to do so. And again, also not focusing on being perfect, but just inspiring and giving opportunities to make a positive difference. And especially in a way that works for you. And I'm planning and thinking of doing a third course or a fourth. I don't know when exactly I will do it, but one on climate anxiety, because I noticed that even though I'm working with it every single day, I hardly have any climate anxiety. So I'm planning on sharing my experiences, why I believe that I don't have this anxiety, and sharing this knowledge so that hopefully that helps you and others to also not have this anxiety. And I will continue making more courses with future topics that will come up on the way. And I'm also already joining, like today, with you in podcasts and other opportunities to inspire others' life, because for me, it's also very important to connect. And I love to connect with people from all around the world, because this loving relationship that we can have that way is for me also a very important basis of my work. And I want to keep on doing that as well in speaking opportunities.
Yeah, that's very, very excellent. Yeah, I think it is very important, the whole aspect of stress. I think there's a lot of resistance in the US in particular to living more sustainably, because there's a perception by a lot of people that these things are like, there's a greater agenda that's being pushed on them, and that, you know, the UN wants everybody to eat insects. You know, it gets a little bit, I guess, conspiratorial or whatever. But I'm kind of curious, like how you actually, by the way, I think eating insects would be pretty cool. It's really expensive to do that where I'm at, but unless you just go dig around and know what you're eating. But what are just some, I guess, give us a taste of how you can keep the levels of stress down, because I know that is a major thing for a lot of people who are under lockdown and just worrying about the state of the planet.
Yeah. So for me, what is very important in daily life is to have a good, well, let's say, connection with my body, because my body tells me a lot about how I feel, what is right for me, what is not right for me. And by working a lot and making all these posts and sharing all these things, it gives me energy. At the same time, I also take time off to do, for example, relaxation exercises. I go for a walk or a run almost every single day, because the sunshine makes me feel good as well. And having this right balance between giving and also taking, that is very important. And for me, taking action is also making a huge difference, because by taking action, I have all these wonderful experiences, like talking to you now, and working on courses, as I shared before we started, that I'm working on a course now. I just love doing this, and that makes me feel really good. And I don't know what's going to be the case in the future, and how climate change and so on is going to develop. But by knowing that today I do everything I can to make this positive difference, that makes me feel really good. And I will never, ever be able to blame myself for not having done enough to make this difference. So these are a few examples that make me feel really good every single day.
Yeah, being proactive instead of reactive. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, exactly. Because when I feel that I'm not able to make a difference, then I feel lamed, and I feel helpless. And this helplessness indeed that drains a lot of energy. And by being proactive, it gives me energy. Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to your courses on saving money, because I think a lot of people, as they feel forced into this lifestyle, you know, whether or not there's an agenda behind it or not, you know, a lot of these things, they really do help us too. And just kind of, yeah, just sort of embracing the fact that we really do need to make changes, because what's been going on for so many years is just really not working. But for us as individuals too. And by the way, for those listening, the first, there's two courses that I saw on your website right now. And the first one is completely free. So, and we'll put links to that so you can go and check those out. Do you have any more thoughts, any kind of anything else you wanted to cover?
Yeah. So one thing that comes up is that I would like to share that by living more environmentally friendly, I thought it would make my daily life more sustainable, but it has meant so much more, which beforehand I wouldn't be able to dream of. And I feel so much more fulfilled in my daily life. I feel so much better. I feel that I really make a difference to our world. And that's why I invite everyone to just make a start with these small things and see how it's going, because maybe there are many more advantages that you didn't think of beforehand that you will only recognize when you have made a start of, or have continued doing more when you already made a start in the past.
Do you think you're ever going to run out of ideas for the future?
I don't, well, it depends. When I do this for 30 years, maybe I do at some point, but I do know that I will definitely be able to double my 365 Sustainable Decisions Challenge. And it is very likely that even after that, I will be able to keep it up, because there's so many ways, and the more I do, the more I see. So.
Mm-hmm. That's very excellent. Well, it has been such a pleasure talking with you. And I want to make sure that everybody can find out where you are. How do they find your website? How do they find you on social media?
Yeah, I invite you to visit sustainabledecisions.eu. So sustainabledecisions.eu, and you can find everything there. So it's a good starting point. You can find the courses, you can find my blog, you can find all my social media handles. You can also find the Sustainable Decisions Challenge book and ebook. So that's the easiest way to get started.
And I found you through following you on Twitter. How do people find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is Erlijn G, so ERLIGNG. And my Instagram is Erlijn, so my first name ERLIGJGN VG. Sorry, I'm getting a bit confused with all the languages I'm speaking. So VG after my first name.
Okay, awesome. Well, everybody go check out all of Erlijn's amazing work, and a lot of awesome things to come. If you're feeling discouraged as you try to live a more sustainable life, there are just tons and tons of ideas, both little and big, that you can start doing today. And Erlijn, once again, it's been so awesome to talk to you. And for everyone out there, just want to remind you, this is being sponsored by naturehub.com. So go check out naturehub.com. It's a platform for helping you to live more sustainably and more healthy. And so if you have any ideas for future episodes, feel free to send us a message. That would be hello@naturehub.com, or you can leave a comment in this video or podcast link. So thank you everybody for joining us. Stay awesome wherever you are. Hope you're doing great, and we'll see you next time.